Yeah, the biggest fear I probably have is letting my parents down, letting my family down, letting my friends down. Um, After all the encouragement I've gotten, it feels like if I don't live up to the expectations, or live up to the hype that everyone's given me, I've just failed.
David, welcome today. Thank you for coming on. How you doing?
I am doing all right. Sorry I'm late. I had
No
to
worries.
get it worked out in the morning, and then I got called to help my parents. So,
Hey, it's also
as you
kind of
said,
my bad. I
a
got the
pleasure.
schedule wrong on my head, so I felt bad. Like, I was like, can you come 45 minutes before what I actually said? Because I gave you the wrong time. But it worked out. Hey, things work out. It was fine. Uh,
Yeah. The interview you had beforehand was super. I loved it so much. I'll talk about it later, but I just loved it.
good. Actually, that's great because it might tie in with this discussion. Speaking of that, what do you want to talk about today, David?
So in general, I think if we're going to talk about mental health, and a big part of my mental health has come from the fact that for years and years, I wouldn't say I used food as a coping mechanism, but I definitely didn't have the mental awareness to realize that I would go on these intense binges. As you can see, I'm a fairly large individual. I am 420 pounds, about there. Um, and you don't get this way from just eating like 2,000 calories a day. You get this from repeated years and years of just forking down food without even realizing it. And that's a big thing. Is that I never realized how bad I was until I actually looked back. Now I look back and see my habits and my whole mindset was so radically just awful.
Can you give us some examples
It got to the
of what
point.
you were doing before?
Oh yeah, of course. Um, I'll give you some extreme examples. Back when I was in middle school, uh, I don't know why, but almost daily I would go out to a convenience store near my house, an Easy Mart, and I would pick up two sodas, a bag of chips, various candies, and I would just eat that, just for no reason other than just to have it. I had really bad habits as a kid, relatively speaking, just absolute forking down food. Mainly because uh, a lot of reasons, but sorry, I'm getting a little choked up.
No, take your
Um,
time.
yeah. Oof. You ever talking about these out loud just brings back everything, and man, yeah, I would just eat and eat, just like a whole, like, I'm not talking about a small bag. I'm talking about like a giant, like, honey twist Fritos, two like 12 ounces of soda, and like just a bunch of candy bars. Like that was like pre like after school snack for me, which I hate to admit it. Um, in high school, I wasn't that better. There were times where I would just order two pizzas and just not even because I wanted to, just because like it was a thing, just because I could. That was the most toxic I think I've ever been in terms of food. Is I would just two Domino's pizzas just down the hatch. I would feel awful afterwards. I would feel like a piece of garbage, but it would just go down, go down.
David, if you don't mind, I might interrupt a bit. Why did you feel like a piece of garbage?
Uh, Eating two Domino's pizzas isn't exactly what you'd call a healthy diet. And during that time, I would just be like, okay, cool. I just had two Domino's pizzas. Nice. But looking back, I despise what I did to myself. There's nothing, there's no reason to be that gluttonous or to be that to eat that much. But those are extreme cases, by the way. I didn't um I don't do that anymore.
So, David, how are you feeling
But
right now as we're talking about this?
oh, I feel I'm comfortable with myself. I'm comfortable that let me preface this by saying I've always loved food, like genuine love for culinary arts and everything. I grew up watching PBS shows, like the daytime TV shows, like what was it, Cook's Kitchen, Chef Ming. I grew up watching sort of daytime television, eating, cooking shows. And my mom is a big cook. She makes a ton of traditional Vietnamese dishes that I enjoy. And I loved watching my mom and my aunts cook growing up. So I say this: I love food, like just genuinely. I love the culinary arts and stuff like that. And loving food, all facets of food, made me crave different foods. And then I'd forget, like, oh, David, you shouldn't do this. This isn't healthy for you. I would just have no impulse control. So I would just be like, okay, you know what? Two pizzas. They're pizza. Mmm, delicious. That kind of thing.
So David, how do you
But like,
feel?
it wasn't.
Like, how are you feeling now as we're talking about some of the extreme cases in the past? How are you feeling about that? I'm sorry,
I'm
let,
different.
let me
I
rephrase that.
changed.
Let me rephrase that. How do you feel talking about what you did in the past?
Oh, I feel embarrassed. Um, it's a different part of my life. Um, I'll probably never slam down two Domino's pizzas on a weekday. Um, but I feel so. I don't know how I didn't see it sooner, or like I didn't. I don't know what came over me. I would just like binge and binge and binge. But I do kind of know.
David, hold on.
Um, it's just I
What
don't want to.
when you said I don't know what came over me, I should have, blah, dot dot dot. How are you feeling right now?
A feeling to describe how I'm feeling. Or, sorry, embarrassed. That's all I can say. I think is the biggest encompassing feeling.
Do you beat yourself up?
Constantly.
Can you help me understand that?
Um, in terms of my expectations for myself, I think it's important to highlight API month as well as Mental Health Awareness Month. Is that I am Vietnamese American. That is how I look at myself when I think of myself. I think of myself first as a son first, then a Vietnamese American, then a college student, a lifter, things like that. It's important to me as my identity as a Vietnamese American, just because my mom and dad has instilled so much pride in me as in they're both immigrants from the Vietnamese Vietnam War, and the expectations they have for me, I understand now. But when I was young, I thought like they were just like they had like limitless expectations for me. But now I understand like where they're coming from. And it took me a long time to realize where my parents were coming from because I just didn't understand the scale of how hard their life was in comparison to mine. Um, and I think that stress of like living up to my parents' expectations when I was younger definitely contributed to the fact that I looked as food as an outlet.
Can you
Um,
help me understand that? I want to zero in on that for a second. So what I was hearing was um, you were looking at your parents. They had it really hard. David doesn't have it that hard.
Relatively speaking, I accept that my hardships are my hardships alone, and if I ever need to, I can do it just at my own pace. It took me a while to understand that.
But I
Um,
want to I want to zero in
but
on
it's
how
still
you were as a kid. As a kid, at some point,
good. Oh, okay.
you started to learn. Forget about present David. A lot of times, our issues
Yeah.
today are like stem from the past. So I want to hear more about how
Mhm.
in the past, younger David, you started
Yes.
to learn about your parents had it tough. And what I'm hearing is you heard that you didn't have it so tough. Is that accurate about does that resonate with the younger David about how you viewed it?
A little bit. I grew up here. My parents talk about stories about living in Vietnam, and they never told me anything too bad when I was like really young. But as I got older, they sort of pulled back the layers and started tell me more. But at a young age, I realized that like they come from a war veterans country, kind of like, and my parents have had the short end of the deal, sometimes. And there's some hyperbole when it comes to like, oh, we traveled across the ocean on a small rowboat, had to go up mountains for school. I think that's a lot of Asian parents. They sort of instill in their kids, oh, we've done this, we've done that. Um, and yeah, I definitely got the sense that my parents had been through a lot. Although I didn't really like internalize that. I kind of just realized, or kind of just like thought about it, like,
I
oh,
see. Okay.
parents have done this, done that. Mhm.
Because
But I didn't have like the cognitive understanding of it.
I was asking about beating yourself up, and then your mind gravitated towards that. So that's why I was kind of trying to understand it better about if there was some sort of connection there. But anyway, sorry, I interrupted earlier. We were on a discussion about beating yourself up constantly, and then I interrupted. Can you please go on with that?
Um, Expectations. I think when it comes to me, my parents have always told me that I can do anything. And they truly believe that because I do have the capability of doing a lot of things. I think we all, oh, we all have the potential, man. But my parents definitely had pretty high expectations for me. And I do think I met them halfway when it comes to the expectations they had for me. I um, was, I think, above average in terms of intelligence. It just means I was really I fall into the same group of people who are lazy, but they get by pretty well. Um, and I was always like, oh, I can do as much as I can, and should I do more? Sometimes I would. Sometimes I would exceed above and beyond. But most of the time, it was okay. Well, I'll do as much as I can. I'll wait to the last second, procrastinate, do all that kind of stuff, blah blah blah, things like that. So I was very, as I think Doc Ock would say, brilliant but lazy. Um, yeah, brilliant but lazy.
So how do you beat yourself
And
up?
right, I mean, uh, holding, I think, too high of expectations, and then uh, after the fact, sort of saying, "Oh, you could have," just having doubts, seeded doubts.
Can you tell me about a time where you were having doubts?
Um, doubts, high expectations. Let's see. In terms of, let's say right now, right? Um, COVID hit. I was a college student. I was in my second semester of college, and then COVID hit during the halfway through my semester. Spring break turned into spring forever, and then uh, I I couldn't handle it. I'm a very social bird, if you can tell by how happy. I crave social interaction, and I benefit so greatly to having people around me, so that I can raise myself up because I can focus. I have because I think I put on a lot of show in my college classes. I was always that one guy, and I know it's kind of like, oh, a little bit too much, but I towed the line between, okay, this guy is really funny, and this guy is like the most annoying guy ever. So I like to ride between the lines. But I definitely did way better in my first semester than second semester, just because it was all online, all asynchronous, and I gave myself enough credit. I was like, okay, dude, you're having a rough time, but a lot of people are having a rough time. But I still had that sort of seated doubt of, dude, what are you doing? This is easy. This is light work. You can do this. Come on. Why aren't you doing this? It's just class.
So David,
It's just you do modules. What are you doing?
when did you start feeling like, hey, what are you doing? Like, it's just XYZ. When did that start?
I think it started when I was maybe a little after middle school when I started thinking about myself, more than myself, and started seeing myself as like, oh, things are, it is what it is. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. But, having, detaching myself from a task. Sort of, I started seeing things in a more of, how can I say this? Sorry, can I have a second to think?
Yeah, of course.
Let me take a page of Tom. Give me a second to think. Uh,
Take your time.
I I'm trying not to use my brain, because I think I
I
fall into
try
that
to,
camp of I
yeah.
try to be eloquent. I try to, yeah. It's a terrible trap because I'm trying not to sound stupid, even though you can't help sounding stupid to some people. It's you gotta sound smart to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I'd say that yeah, probably late middle school, probably high school. Um, as I started thinking about myself more, I put more pressure on myself because I was heading into a different stage of my life. My parents also put a lot of stress on me because I transitioned from a Catholic school background for my whole up until like seventh grade. I switched over to public school, and then they said, oh, hey, "You better do well in public school because we're taking you out of Catholic school, public school." I think that's where a big shift in my thing. But I don't want to attribute to that because I don't think it was as deep as I want to say it was.
But when they told you
But I think
that you had to do well in public school, we're taking out a Catholic school, how did you feel at that time?
at the time I didn't really feel much of anything. I was like, cool, public school. Now I don't have to like wear a uniform all the time. Also, I didn't really like the school I was going to. Um, then there, it was just like it was kind of toxic. I was always like I wasn't. It wasn't like I was the butt of the joke, but it was just like it just felt like everyone was out to get me in a weird way.
Can you help me understand that?
Because I came in to a class, I came into a class of like 20 something kids, not even 20, like 15, like 16 kids. This is like a small Catholic school, and I was like the new kid, so I always felt um, like I was like coming into something that was like a group, and it's sort of a trend in my life where I've always been like a new kid. I've always switched schools randomly, like almost every 3 years. That's a weird trend in my life. It's like I don't stay somewhere else for like more than 3 years before I just inevitably do something to move. No fault of like, oh, like we're not moving anywhere. We've stayed in the same spot relatively speaking, but like jumping from school to school, district to district, like bouncing back and forth. Um, but then I transitioned to middle school, and then I got a little more responsibility. Puberty hit, and then I started getting up into high school. Um, and then when I went to, I moved down to Georgia. I was a whole nother shift. I went to a military school my first year in Georgia, and I think that's where I really put a lot of pressure on myself
That
because of
was
all the bravado and the hoo ha. All
that was
the
after high school.
no, this is my sophomore year of high school. I went to a military academy
I
in
see.
in Gainesville, Georgia.
Okay.
Mm. It was a tough one.
So I'm getting this picture you moved around a lot,
uh,
but I'm still not getting a clear picture about how you were feeling, the expectations, beating yourself up. Because we started there at this high level view
yeah,
of there's this theme in David's life of David beats himself up. David has very high expectations of himself. But then we start talking about your school. I'm not getting a lot of examples, or I'm not getting a strong sense that in school you're beating yourself up or that you had high expectations of yourself.
not in school. I think I strived to do well in school, but I didn't have high expectations in school. School was always like a secondary thing in my back of my head. Um, just high expectations in life. Not really school, because school is. I never really tried that. I
Okay.
wouldn't say.
Can you tell me more about your life, high expectations in your life?
Like when I did theater, I held myself. Uh, I think I was comfortable in the way how much I could do. I was very comfortable in that sense where I knew what I could do. I knew the upper limits of my ability. I was comfortable with that. I pushed myself enough, but I always like stayed in a little like a box of like, okay, I'm comfortable in this box. Like I can only do so much. Like I can only lift so much, so heavy. I can only exert myself to this capacity.
Can you help me understand
With
that?
everyone wanting to push me more and more,
Like it's a little bit abstract right now. Like, do you have any
let's
like
say,
concrete
yeah,
examples?
yeah. Like during football, I played football my freshman year of high school, and I hated running because I was always the slowest in the team. And I pushed myself. I would only push myself this much, maybe a little more. But every time I pushed myself above like the limit I could do, I felt I felt so anxious and so bad that I was like not being able to do what I wanted to do. I think most of that was my physical limitations as a bigger person. You can only do so much. Your body is limited by your own body. Uh,
David,
and when you try to go above that,
when you're sorry to interrupt, I want to tunnel down there for a second.
yeah,
You were doing some football practice. You wanted to push yourself a little bit more, but the what I was hearing was you didn't want to, or you didn't, you were uncomfortable about that. Can you help me understand that a little bit more?
yeah. It was when I did football. The guys were all like they were all a good close group of friends. I joined that close group of friends, and I felt that I felt that love. I felt that guys being dudes type of thing. It was nice. It was a sense of community, and they encouraged me to push myself harder. But that outward encouragement, it just felt like they would push me. They would push me, and it would be positive reinforcement for me. But I met it with some resistance. I think I I I I, I just felt overwhelmed in a sense.
What was overwhelming?
I don't want to put any negative or positive emotions. The to succeed, to do what I needed to do, to just get it done. Um, it felt like I couldn't do it. I think I thought I couldn't do it, and when people were behind me, it felt like I had to live up to something. I had to be faster. I had to hit harder. Um,
David, it would help
yeah,
me if I could get like something more specific with a more specific example, because like I understand what you're saying, but it's a little bit abstract. Do you have a time? Can you think of a time
mm,
where this kind of happened, where your friends were kind of pushing you, but you were afraid? Um, whatever these emotions were. Think about it for a second. I need to grab a drink really quick.
mm. Ugh. Sorry, chat. I'm super tired. I had a lift. My brain's racing. Oh no.
Okay, whenever you're ready, if you have anything.
Um, I can think of. I don't know if this is a good example, but I went to a summer camp. The majority of like a day summer camp where you go and then your parents will pick you up at the afternoon. And I remember one time there was this activity you could do where you'd strap yourself into a harness, you'd climb a tree, and then you'd go onto a platform and then jump to a rope and try to catch it. And it was like 20 feet above the air, something like that. And I remember I wanted to do it, and I did it once before, but something about like trying to climb the tree, I just couldn't climb the tree for some reason. Like my body, like my movement wouldn't let me to go up. Like, I just couldn't. I felt like was I just too heavy? Was I weak? No, I did this before, but my body just wouldn't let me climb up. And then I was so embarrassed and so like also kind of scared because it was so high up. Not even high up; it was like 10 feet off the ground. I forcibly pulled myself down off of that ladder. With the guy like he was trying to like get me to stay up, so he was like pulling on me, but I was pulling down, and I was strong enough to pull myself down and off that ladder. That's a big one that sticks out to me. Is sort of me forcibly like getting in back into my comfort zone. Um,
So
I felt really bad because I knew I could do it, but
were your
something about that day
friends
just didn't let me do it.
were your friends there pushing you and encouraging you?
Yeah, they were all there. They're all encouraging me. They're like, "Oh, you can do it, Dave. It's easy. Just do it. Just jump off, bro. Just climb up." Um, I don't know. Either I was too scared, I just couldn't pull myself up,
What were you scared
something like
of?
that. It was just scared of the height. Um, this is a now thing, and I admit it full heartedly. Is that I hate having to jump any amount of distance down, like Gerald from Witcher. I cannot jump more than 3 feet down.
Yeah.
It terrifies me. Not terrifies me, but it the fear of like rolling my ankle or like like hyperextending my knee um is
I see.
something
So,
I
so
deal
there's a
with.
fear
Not
of
exactly. This is expectations are all the
yeah,
way.
yeah. I mean, fear of physical injury, and that's fine. I'm not going to argue with that. That's a very practical fear, but with your friends, I feel like we're skirting around something. We're skirting around
No,
the friends. They're pushing you. I get the sense that your friends are pushing you. They're encouraging you in your life. Are you afraid to let them down?
I'm I think the biggest fear I ever probably have is letting my mom and dad down. I think there's like a
Why you're laughing? This sounds
well
really
like,
sad. Why are you laughing?
yeah, no, I usually laugh when I cry. Big thing. Um happened ever since I was young. Trying to cope with it, but yeah, the biggest fear I probably have is letting my parents down, letting my family down, letting my friends down. Um, After all the encouragement I've gotten, it feels like if I don't live up to the expectations, or live up to the hype that everyone's given me, I've just failed. Yeah, and I'm okay with failing myself, but failing my friends and my family is a big thing, right?
It sounds like your friends and family are really important to you.
Connection has always been important to me. Um, my parents and me, we have a strong bond. My mom, I mean, ever since I was a kid, I spent majority of time with my mom. So I talk to my mom more than like. My mom has always encouraged me and has always been by my side and behind me, even when I was at my darkest point, weight wise. And so yeah, disappointing them is the worst thing that could probably happen to me. Like if my body breaks down, whatever. If I fail at something, whatever. But if my parents had expectations for me, that would crush me. Or that does crush me.
What's everyone encouraging you and encouraging you to do right now?
Well, one is body transformation, weight loss, and I've done really well for myself this past month and a half. My mom says it almost every day. Uh, our test to see how small I've gotten is that she'll hug me, and if she can reach her arms around me and touch her arms, then it's a okay. And the first time, like it was like earlier, like senior year, she was like holding me. She's like, "You can do it, David. You can do it." And she can hug me easily. Like she could wrap her arms around me, and that's like it's such motivation to keep me going. Um, that's
I think onto something. I know there's a lot of emotions there, but is it okay if we
Yeah,
talk more about
yeah,
how
totally. Just tears.
yeah, how it's something that's really important to you. You don't want to let down your friends or family. Have you let them down before in the past?
Um, it feels to me like I did. Um, it felt like I did. Um, Sometimes you just can't do something, and it's no fault to you. It's just you aren't able to. You don't have the capacity to do it.
Can you tell me about a
But
time when you weren't able
I
to
pride
do
myself on
something?
being able to do what I can do. Um, there was a time during um football when I was running um doing laps, and everyone else had finished, and I barely had gotten two. Like I was like on my second or third lap, and they are already done. And coach just called me over. He's like, "Tron, just get over here. Just get over here." And I felt like I was like, it was like being that slow and being that like encumbered. It it felt like I was always like being like just like a letting my team down. Not even like it was just training. It was just me running. It was just me going as fast as I could. But it just felt like that. Um, I keep going back to football as an example, just because it's the one I can immediately think of.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
let's
that's a
say
good
like in
example.
academics.
Let's talk some more about that. So you felt like you let them down, right?
Mhm.
Did you let them down?
Oh,
But it felt like that though, right?
it was just training. It felt like that.
A lot of times feelings aren't truths, even though it feels like a truth. What are you feeling right now?
What am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
Is what we said.
Yeah.
Uh, I am feeling. Uh, I'm feeling. Well, I feel a release of emotion. I can't pinpoint a feeling. Um, I'm very calm right now, actually. If I were to describe a feeling, I'm feeling. I
Yeah.
feel calm.
So David, I'm gonna take a guess here. And I'm just take a guess. I want you to tell me if any of this resonates with you. If I'm completely off the mark, just tell me. Like I'm wrong about things like 100% of the time, so it's fine. What do you have a theme in your life of um trying for something and then everyone rallies behind you and that puts a lot of pressure on you to execute, and if you don't, you feel even more trapped because people are encouraging you. They're like building you up and up, and you get higher and higher. You feel even more and more trapped. Like you can't let go. You can't disappoint. And there's nowhere to go but up, but you feel like you're not going to make it up this time. It's going to be happening again. Does that resonate?
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate the encouragement that they've given me, but having so much of that encouragement, having so much of that, it felt like it was ill placed. Having that much encouragement or having any kind of encouragement, kind of. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far, but just having having expectations on me definitely felt um, it felt not great having expectations on me because I just didn't want to disappoint. I'm a very people pleaser,
Mm,
and that coupled with the fact that I like to feel like I know my limits. And I like to feel like I know how far I can go if I were to do something. And having people say I can do more, it puts doubt on me, saying, "Oh, well, can I actually do it? Am I able to do it?" And if I can't do it, then I feel like, oh, they're just they believed in something that wasn't enough.
David, do you remember one of the first things I said to you in the Discord about like flying, be careful flying too high and all that momentum?
Yes, yes, yes. I remember that. Yeah, yeah. I caught myself literally not 2 days afterwards. I had a just breakdown.
What happened? Tell us.
And my mom
First
was
of
like,
all,
"You
okay.
can do
First of
it,
all,
easy."
can you tell people like from your perspective what you heard me say? Like what was your understanding of what I said? And then second, please tell us about the breakdown.
Hold on. Let me look at the receipts. So I can remind myself.
Do be careful to
Um,
not accidentally dox anyone on stream because that is a bannable thing. So if you're going to show anything on
mm.
stream, it's better if you just read and read it out loud instead of showing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Oh, yeah. No, no, yeah, yeah. I was just gonna read it. Let me see if I can find it. Anyway, I remember it was all along the lines of you were telling me about how I was making good progress, but make sure you don't fly too high and don't put too much weight on yourself. Slow and steady wins the race. Something like that. And I was going super hard uh, for like just a month at that point, I think. And I just I had so much emotion built up. I'm a very emotional guy. I like to feel emotion, like especially extreme emotion. Um, and so I hadn't up until that point experienced like a release of emotion. I was sort of like focused on one task, focusing on fitness and health, and so I didn't take the time to keep my mental health in check, and so I was compounding and compounding and compounding, like people in this chat saying, "Oh, you got this, bro. You looking good. You looking." And that hyped me up, but the all with so much hype up comes a downfall, and that downfall was that I was I just if I can't remember what happened in the moment, um but I think I had a bad day at the gym, and I was just defeated. um
Defeat is a good
I
word.
think,
Do you
yeah,
want
I
me to help?
remember I was in the car.
Actually,
How
no.
true?
Go. No, go on. Go on. I want to hear about the car.
I was in the car and I was just crying, bawling my eyes out. I think it was before the workout, not after. So I think I sat in the car, I was bawling, and then I went to work out. Either that or it was the opposite way around, where I worked out and then I started crying in the car. Either way, I was crying in my car, just all alone. Just because I think it finally hit me about how much I was doing and how like on a roll I was, and if it stopped being on a roll, I think I realized that if I stopped being on this momentum train, if I stopped feeling this good, and bad times started happening. I was like, well, this ain't gonna last forever, Chief. Yeah, you gotta keep going. But
So
yeah,
what? Okay, so
yeah.
I'm gonna talk
And
a
one
little
thing
bit
to keep in
from.
mind is also.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just repeating what you said in the chat. And one thing to keep in mind also is to be careful not to let it become your identity. If you rely on it to build you up too high, then it will make you fall harder than you ever do fall.
Yeah.
And yeah, I fell. I fell hard.
Because I'll say what I saw from my perspective. Um, I'm not trying to like belittle or generalize or like bucket you because obviously everyone's journey is individual. But I've seen this many times where people get hyped up about taking control of their lives for health, fitness, lose weight, gain weight, whatever it is. They get super motivated, which is fantastic. But with that comes a common pattern that I see, which is they feel so crappy prior to this. They're beating themselves up, cycles of shame, cycles of I should have done this. I like, how did it come to this? And they generate so much negative emotion that fuels them to take action. That they find the stream and they're like, oh man, this stream is for me. This is it. This is the catalyst. This is the moment where everything changes. They build up, put all these expectations on it, and then they just run, and they are running full speed. They're doing fantastic, but certain aspects to the plan is not sustainable. They're going to do great for a little bit. And I say this on stream all the time. Their plan is going to do fantastic for multiple weeks. Like, someone who weighs 420 pounds has the ability to lose 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds per week, but they cannot keep that up forever. And they have to prepare themselves mentally for when that slowdown comes and how to transition out of it. That's the practical tip. But then the mental health tip there is, how do you prepare yourself for the roller coaster of not always being able to sustain this? What happens if you've put yourself too high and you let people down? David, here's what I see. You're a very... I love your quips. Like, I mentioned that the other time. We're playing Night Squad with the community. You're so quippy and funny. I love it. Like, you're quick, you're social. Like, I actually envy you in that sense. Like, I wish I had... Like, when I think about, like, being more quippy and stuff, I actually think of like you, like that personality type. Being so quick, just like boom, boom, all these quick one-liners. If they don't stick, it doesn't matter because they just like, they keep going and it's just so fun, right? It's a fun atmosphere. And I suspect, I hypothesize that you have this personality that's going to get people to gravitate towards you, and they're going to cheer you on. Because like, dude, first of all, I want everyone to succeed. But dude, it's David, man. David's fucking hilarious. Like, I want David to succeed because he's just like, I'm drawn towards you, but I want to like rally behind you because that personality is like, it is magnetic. It's almost like, I don't know how to phrase this. There's probably a better way to phrase this, but you attract that attention that's going to further fuel you. Like, it's a positive feedback loop of, David's so cheery, I want him to succeed, and David's like, he's doing it this time, and he's taking the right steps, and then you get hyped up about it, we get hyped up about it, and then we hype you up more about it, and you hype yourself up more about it, and it's like this positive like whirlwind of emotions. But then we get too high, and then what's going to happen when that comes down? And I've seen this many times where people then, what comes afterward is they feel ashamed. If they make the smallest mistake, they've let everyone down. Even though I'm going to guess that your friends in the past, like when you couldn't climb up that tree at camp, when you couldn't climb, they probably weren't really that disappointed, or that your family wasn't that disappointed in you. But a lot of that was probably internalized. It felt like you disappointed. It felt like you let them down, even though you didn't let down the team. When the coach called you over, it feels like you let everyone down, but you didn't really let them down. But then what comes afterward is a lot of internalization of shame and letting people down. And then the cycle starts all over again, where we go back down to the bottom of the roller coaster and backing off, resetting the progress, not showing up to stream anymore. I mean, like, on a practical note, I see that, which I told you, I told David early on. I say this to a lot of people. When I see this pattern, I tell them never feel ashamed to ever show up. If you feel like you haven't made progress, don't view me as father fitness of you. Did you track your food today? Did you do your lifts today? Did you do your cardio? I don't want anyone to ever feel like that, because I say that out loud because I know there's people on the receiving end who they're going through these cycles and they're internalizing some sort of shame that I do my best to never project. I talked a lot. Did any of that resonate with you?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I've always been a character in my life, and I've always lifted people up. I've always loved that. I'm a very social creature. My mom and dad have instilled me. They've always been, if you can't help out, or if you are more than yourself, and with all the negatives comes the positives. I was taught at a very young age that it doesn't make you less of a person if to help out someone. Or sorry, it doesn't take that much to help out someone. You don't need to do a lot for someone, but if you can do something, why not? Um, if you can just do one thing, one little thing that can help someone's outlook immensely. A smile, a word. I really subscribe to that. But yeah, I definitely had people gravitate towards me, lift me up, and when I felt like I couldn't live up to their expectations, I would just be so bummed because I'd be like, "Oh, dude, you really believe in me," and then I fail, and I just feel like crap. A good example is theater. People in theater would tell me that I was a great character. I could do something if I auditioned, I could do it, and then no fault of me. I just I wasn't what they were looking for. I wasn't what like my theater director was looking for, and so I internalized that as, well, guess I'm not good enough. Guess I wasn't that good. But looking on backwards, I knew it wasn't that. It wasn't like, oh, it's not you. It's sort of um I'm not even gonna touch on the subject. It's such a long time ago. But yeah, I definitely felt a lot of pressure when it comes to people who put a lot of power behind me. And exactly, I rose up, I flew too close to the sun, and then I fell right down. I don't even remember what happened. I don't. I just felt all the pressure at once, and that in turn made me realize if I failed, game over, man. Game over, dude.
So,
Just
David,
just failure.
let's try to. There's two questions and
Oh,
exercises I'm gonna do with you. Yes, yes, go ahead.
I would also like to say I got over it by listening to Dr. K. I watched a bunch of his YouTube videos. I realized that you were actually in his chat like at the beginning. Like I see you all the time in like those little snippets on YouTube. I just see Tom pop up. I'm like, oh, it's Tom.
Yeah,
What's up, boss?
yeah.
But I I saw Dr. K. He was always saying, I watched your interview with him, and he said, "What's the most important step? The next one. Always gotta do what you can do the day of. Doesn't matter about the past. Doesn't matter about the future. Just gotta do what you can, and you gotta just do it. If you can walk 5 steps, walk 5 steps. If you can lift 1 pound, lift 1 pound." And that's helped me immensely over this past like few weeks of me just like when I first started my cut, like at the like a week ago, I could barely lift like 160 on bench, barely. I was like, what am I doing? Am I a failure? Oh my god, I can't lift 160 on a bench. I just warmed up more, and it was fine. I could lift it, no problem. And I was like, what am I doing? David, calm down, breathe, brother. It's okay. You can fail. It's not the end of the world if you can't lift as much as you could. You're intaking less calories. You literally worked a whole day, and then you're going to the gym after a long day of work. Obviously, you're going to be a little weaker, so just calm down, breathe, have, I don't know, a bite to eat. And then the pre-workout kicked in. I started rubbing them out like nothing. But I had to remind myself to slow down and realize that you got this, bro. You got this. Anyway, lived
You
you.
actually just kind of did
You
one
want
of
to
the
say?
exercises I was going to have you do, which is if you were
Ah,
to, because you're good at helping people, right? So I was going to say, um, let's say you have a friend who is trying to lose weight, and he goes through these cycles of putting too much expectations on himself. His friends and family rally behind him, and he feels all that extra pressure, and he's afraid of letting them down. How would you help out that friend?
oh, I'd give him a slap on the back and say, "Hey, listen, man. Listen, man. it might seem like you got a lot of pressure on you to succeed. But where do you think that pressure comes from? You think that's ill placed? You think they don't believe in you? You think for a second they're thinking, oh, this guy's gonna fail. This guy's gonna lose. No, of course not, bro. They're your friends and family. They love you and they understand that you're just another human being. And they understand that if you can't do it, who said you can't do it tomorrow? Who said you can't do it a week from now? If you can't do it today, do it tomorrow, do it the next day. Keep trying, keep improving. Do what you gotta do. That's what I'd say.
Is it okay to fail?
Ugh. Of course, I'm a failure. I failed a ton of times in my life. It's okay to fail. Because you're not gonna die from failure unless you're in a really life or death situation.
Yeah. I
So if
was
something
saying, like,
happens, failure is just another facet of life. Another facet of life. You can't. And I definitely was scared to fail. For the majority of my second and third semester, I was deathly afraid of failing my courses. So a big stress on that for me was like me feeling like I was inadequate. I got over it, slowly. And since I'm not in school anymore, a big stressor of my life is now sort of out of the way. Because online school was attributing so much stress to me. I barely could work out because I was so scared of failing and my inability to just do something that I couldn't open my laptop. Like I was so scared of opening my laptop because I would just see all my assignments that I just didn't do, and I'd be scared to inaction. Um, and I got kind of over that. I started doing better, so I'm nice in that regard.
So the second exercise or question I have for you is, so some practical. Let's get to some practical tips or changes, because I got the sense that the community and friends and family encouraging you is a double-edged sword. It's great to have the extra motivation, but then it feels like you're again flying too high. You're afraid you're letting them down. So how, if I'm, like forget that I'm a streamer. Let's just pretend that like I'm a friend or family. I want to encourage you, but I don't want to put more pressure on you. So what should I do? Like, how can I be there for you? How can I be a part, but not put more pressure on you?
Honestly, I think it comes as a fact of me feeling like that. I don't think it. No one has ever put like. I mean, the only people who put like immense amount of pressure is my mom and dad, just because they care so much. Like, they don't know how to communicate that. But I think everyone else is I'm. It's just how I interpret it, and I can't. I had to realize that everyone. I have to internalize the fact that people, if they go out of their way to lift me up, it's just what it is. It's I have expectations on me, but that doesn't mean that I have to reach those expectations. It's just fuel for the fire. Um, uh, it's a lesson I have to keep sort of internalizing and relearning. Because I just it there's nothing bad, about motivating someone. Um, it's just how I felt about the motivation and how I felt it was ill placed.
Can I give a suggestion here? I suspect that I agree. Like I think it is like it's an internalized thing, but what I think would be very helpful and almost relieving is when you are having those moments of feeling like you're gonna let them down, even though the source really isn't coming from them, it still kind of feels like it might be coming from them. Calling attention to it is probably one of the most powerful tools to disarm this anxiety. And just having the conversation with the friends, the family, or their favorite streamer, something like that, just telling them like, hey, I know you're cheering me on. I'm starting to feel like pressured to succeed, and I'm actually more afraid of failing right now. And I know this is probably it's just coming from me. I know you're not trying to pressure me like that, but I'm trying to, like, I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid that having, I'm afraid of letting you down. Something like that. We could probably work on the wording a little bit better, but because once you bring it to light and you hear it directly from the person that you think you might be letting down, then you'll hear it from them like, oh man, it's okay. Like, it's not like, you're not gonna let us down. You can't let us down. I genuinely think the majority of like your friends and family are going to be behind you, and talking to them about it when you have those feelings arise. They will help by calling attention to it. It's going to help dispel that potential negative emotional roller coaster. What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally agree that calling to it, at least just mentioning it, having that reassurance of "I'm good, bro." I think that it's having that sort of from them, because I can rationalize it all day. I can sit here in my room just okay, well they're trying to they want me to succeed, blah 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 blah. I can rationalize it like so many ways. But having the person who's giving me the motivation saying, "Hey, it's okay if you fail. But I believe in you. Failure or not, I believe in you." That's oof, heals the soul right there. Oh gosh.
So I feel like we made some good progress on that topic. We can keep exploring it if you want. Or there's a couple other notes I've been taking about things that we could talk about. So it's really up to you. So we can keep exploring those topics, or we can talk about your identity, who are you, stuff like that. We can talk about practical tips on expectations for weight loss and or what to expect on the way down from 420 pounds to whatever, and checkpoints and how to pivot if things aren't going well, stuff like that. There was one other one that we also, the binge eating and the coping with food, stuff like that. So what are you interested in?
I it's hard for me to say what I want to talk about, because I feel like I'd just be repeating stuff I'd already rediscovered for myself. I preface this by saying I'm a psychology major. I was a psychology major. That was primarily what I went to college for, to be a counselor and stuff. So I applied the things I learned, coupled with Dr. Tay and talking to you. I finally internalized what I was learning. I was like, oh wait, see a pattern, recognize a pattern, things like that. So I think I have a better insight than most when it comes to mental health. For me, at least, obviously I can justify about anything, make excuses for anything. But I feel like I can be a little bit no BS with myself and realize where I'm coming from, just a little bit. But
can you
the
help
fact
us
that I'm on
understand?
camera now makes me a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, how does it make you different?
Oh yeah. When I'm with when I'm outside, my oh no, I don't want to use key terms from my courses, because I'll feel like actually my self presentation is just super high and my self esteem is just super low. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is like my self presentation has always been super high.
I kind of would like that. Also, I would like to hear those terms. I think it's fun. But also, I think we're getting some really bad latency and lag. It's been like building up over this discussion. I think we might want to do a quick, let's disconnect and reconnect to see if that solves it. Because I think there's like a 4-second delay from this. So let's, I'm going to disconnect really quick. And okay.
testing 1 2.
Yep. Okay. Let's take a look. Oh, dude, that's so much better for the lag. There we go. Because it was like a 5.
I'm on a very bad MacBook delay. Pro.
Anyway, okay. So sorry. Let's
college student here, by the way.
So yeah, help us understand. Feel free to use psychology terms. If I don't understand something, I'll just ask. So What are some of the things you've learned about yourself?
I don't even understand it, bro. No,
Just fake it till you make it.
I realized I realized that I have high self-presentation motivation. I want to be perceived a certain way, and we all, to a certain degree, we all want to be perceived a certain way. But as you said before, I pride myself on funny quips. I pride myself on being very social. I pride myself on being an everyman. Sort of, I was always a felicitator. Oh, a felicitator. I was always inclusionary. I think that has to do a lot of my background. Is that as growing up in my community, there was never really anybody who was sanctioned off. There was never really any cliques, any groups, any sort of things like that. And so I learned to really accept everybody, and everyone has flaws, and if you can't accept everyone, if you can't accept their flaws, then I mean just don't associate with them, right? If you don't have the capacity to in your heart, but you should accept everyone flaws and positive traits. You shouldn't be able to pick and choose like, oh, this guy is positive right here. This guy is really blah blah blah. I really like this guy. Put him in my circle. Um, but getting back to myself, my self esteem has always been kind of low. I've always been happy where I I, I have enough self esteem to be able to be funny in public, and that adds to my charm and stuff. But having low self esteem coupled with the fact that you want to always be always be sociable, always want to be like I want to be. I'm not forcing myself to be
David,
like funny. I'm not forcing myself to be social. That's what I want to be. I yeah.
can I ask you, when did you start
Yes.
wanting to be sociable? When did you start wanting to be funny? And when did you start wanting to present yourself like that?
From a young age, my mom has always told me that my laughter as a kid has always made the room laugh. Like coming from a young age, I was constantly like a ball of energy. I was constantly like this force of positive or just energy in general. And I learned to become more positive because that's it just makes the world a better place when you're positive and you can make the room shine. And in sort of growing up, middle school, high school, um, I really was like a big force. I think a lot has to do with my beliefs. I am a Catholic, and my mom and dad are like super Catholic, and so that instilled on me, love thy neighbor, um, be good to the people around you, because we all are just people. We all are humans. We all are different but the same. Um, and you just if you I have unlimited love to give in a sense. Well, at least I like to think that is I have capacity to just love if I need to love. And I want to love. I like being I love you guys.
So,
I love
David,
all that stuff. Um, I
we
never really learned. I never learned it. Huh.
sometimes okay, it's difficult to put my finger on this, and I'm gonna take a guess, and I don't want to be putting ideas in your head, so just tell me if I'm completely off. I get the sense that there's this mask of David that you got to put on this good presentation, and if we get close to an emotion, we start to sidestep and get away from it, and we start to get the mask of David again to kind of cover the emotion and feel good. And so because I asked, when did you start to feel like this? When did you start feeling like this? And we get the story of your mom told you that your laugh can make the whole room laugh. And it's very subtle. And then we started like getting away from that because that was a really important point I wanted to focus on.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh wow, now we're really far away. Like you got so much love. And like, man, you just give love to everyone. But like, let's zero in on that. When you were a kid and your mom told you
Yeah.
that you can make the whole room laugh, I get this sense of the repeated theme, the expectation is put on you. Like, there it
Okay.
is. David, We expect you to make everyone laugh. It's your laugh that's gonna make everyone laugh. You know? What do you think about that?
Oh, we get into the deep of things. All right, my bad. I definitely do agree with that. I definitely wow, that's but I wouldn't say that I attribute it all to that. I wouldn't say I attribute like the fact that I am this happy-go-lucky, jolly guy. I do admit that expectations of me have always been like, oh, fat Asian dude, funny, like jolly. The connotations you have when you are a big Asian guy, I
Okay.
think is okay. What's it gonna be? Is it gonna be like a nerd? Is it gonna be blah blah? It's just a lot of societal expectations. I do agree with that. I do agree that I might have put myself in a box. I do have a mask. I do agree with that. You are 100% on that. I realized that when I was in high school is that I would always put on a mask just because of self presentation theory. I want to be perceived this way, so I put it out this way. Um,
So David, if I can
you
ask,
are correct.
um,
I do
when
put
did
a lot of expectation in myself to be funny.
in your words, when or how did you learn that you've got to be the funny fat Asian dude?
Probably in middle school. Probably when I went to public school. My friend actually recently pointed it out to me, but I was in a pretty. I mean, I wouldn't say it was in a toxic friendship, but I definitely was the butt of a joke here and there. I think I mean, you pop a little friend groups. They they do your dues, or you pay your dues when you're in a friend group, right? You always get like a certain amount of crap. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear,
But it's
but
okay.
you get a certain amount of you just get a certain amount of shit, you for just random things, just because guys being dudes, especially with my friend group, we were all like foreign kids. Like I hung out with the Russians, and so we just get smacked on constantly. But that's everybody. Everybody got smacked on. And that was kind of like our thing. Was it healthy? Not really. It was pretty toxic.
What do they smack down
But
on you for?
we sort of got paid our dues. We got smacked on for random things. I mean, the easiest thing, right? My weight and my race. It was normalized to make fun of you for your race. Normalized to make fun of you for how big you were. The classics. The classics.
So,
Getting compared to Buddha constantly, even
David,
though
I'm
I'm
going to keep
Catholic.
interrupting if
That
that's
was a
okay.
little bit.
I kind of have to because the lag, the
Yeah,
latency
go ahead.
problem. But I want to make sure we don't slip away. We don't slip away from this. When they would make fun of you for your weight, how did you feel?
It felt like there was truth in that. Um, it felt very toxic, but it's how you interpret it sometimes. I never really had malice towards them for saying it because they were just pointing out a flaw that I had, and it's not good to make fun of people and then to derive pleasure from obviously the pain that they have, but I never really had malice towards them in a sense because I it was so normalized that we all do it. So it you're being sensitive, and that's
Careful,
a big
careful,
underline.
David.
Oh, you're just sensitive, man. What do
Careful. You
you
see what's
mean?
happening, David?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
happening.
Sorry.
I'm asking, how did you feel?
Mm-hmm,
How did you feel when you were doing it?
mm-hmm.
It was a little bit of, it started directing,
I
you
felt
see?
bad. I felt bad in a way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We started, but I
It
want
didn't
to
feel
hear
that
your
good.
answer in just a second, but notice we're getting somewhere because we start touching on this subject and then it starts shifting to, well, I didn't, it's okay. Like we all did it. I didn't have negative feelings toward them. So we're skirting away from something. It's everything you're not saying because we're saying, oh, I didn't have any negative feelings towards them. We all did it to each other. I did it back to them. It was normalized. It's fine. Whatever. It's it's the jokes, and then we end with like, David, good old jolly David with like the mask, right? What are we covering? How did you feel toward yourself?
Definitely contributed to the fact that I have lower self-esteem. Um, never really helped my self-esteem that much, um, because of they pointed out my flaws. I saw them as truths,
Did it hurt?
and they hurt. Yeah. Um, when you're getting made fun of for something that you can't change automatically like that, it hurts because I mean, what can you do? You can start lifting weights. You can start, um, you know, working out a little more, doing cardio. But that wasn't my issue. My issue was me like stuffing my face constantly. Um, and it reinforced the fact that I had no impulse control. And I was big. I was a big guy.
Did you feel it hurt, right? Did you feel vulnerable, exposed?
Mm. Yeah, I felt I've been calling to light your flaws is never fun, but especially like if it's come to light multiple times, and you're just like, well, what can I do, guys? You guys are ragging on me for something I can't really change. Yeah, it did. It felt like I was unable to change my circumstance at the moment. So what can I really do? Felt kind of hopeless.
Yeah. It sounds like it reinforced the hopelessness. And then you're hurt. And one of the things that we do when we're hurt to protect ourselves, you can't make fun of me. I'm going to make fun of me. I'm going to be the butt of the joke. Can't beat them, so you join them. It helps callous us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Helps kind of get that scar to not heal, but to scar over. And then now everyone, I'm with them. I'm going to keep jumping into and kicking myself while I'm down because it's hopeless.
Let me try this. All right. Maybe that'll help the latency. Yeah, you're definitely right. Do you know this YouTuber David So? Very kind of popular Asian YouTuber.
Yes, I do know David. He's
if you don't know who David So is, yeah, David So. One of my biggest inspirations growing up as a kid, David being the same name, but also I mean he was everything I wanted to be. He was a big Asian dude who was just super funny, and he was himself to a point. I mean, I can't speak on his authenticity, but him doing his videos and me watching him just be like this energy is something I picked up on. And I was like, you know what? I do admit I do pick up on a lot of things. Add them to the arsenal of David the Mask. But yeah, I definitely got influenced a lot by that. And sometimes toxic humor, haha, funny.
Yeah.
I'm out of water. I don't know why I keep picking this up.
I mean, do you want get some water? That's if you need it.
Too lazy. It's downstairs.
Okay. All right. But if you feel like you need water, you need a quick break, just let me know. I think the whole presentation thing, I think that it's great that you recognize that because recognizing what we're doing and why we're doing it is, I think, going to tie in with all of this. Because I mean, from my perspective, I want to help you, right? And I want to help you with the weight loss stuff. This is a diet, fitness, motivation channel. And I think it's going to help a lot to attack this from multiple angles. One being recognizing that you're not letting anyone down. That aspect that we talked about earlier. And then the other aspect of the mask of David trying to be funny, trying to present yourself a certain way. Because I think that that's the other end of that equation of why do you feel like you're letting people down? Because you have a mask and you've got to show people a certain side of you. You've got to maintain this identity. So what do you think about that?
Very true. Very not very, very, yes. Mm-hmm.
David,
I see the map is building. The scatter plot is building. You can see it.
I want to take another shot in the dark. I want to see if this resonates with you at all. If it doesn't resonate that strongly, this could be way off. But I'm just wondering, do you ever self-sabotage your weight loss efforts, because you're afraid that if you lose the identity of, in your words, fat, funny Asian dude, if you lose that identity, then what are you?
I definitely self-sabotage, but I don't self-sabotage to keep myself in this sort of state.
Okay.
Um, I think I self-sabotage myself, but not because I want to be fat, funny Asian David. Um, because being this weight isn't healthy. Even though I carry my weight pretty well for being as heavy as I am, because I've always been an athlete. I've always been active. I've always been very like, for a heavy guy, I'm pretty decent. But there's definitely been self sabotaging moments where I've just said, "What's the point? What's the point?" And I dealt with sort of those feelings, those demons, all throughout my high school stint. I was depressed for a number of years, always lying to myself. And the first therapist that I really resonated with, I completely masked up towards the end of my time with him, because it gotten super bad. I was in a very dark place, um, and he knew it. He knew it. There's no getting past a professional when it comes to your masking, and he recognized that I was not good, and so I never got diagnosed with depression, but years later I could probably say probably had some problems in the old think tank here. Um, but dealing with those demons, I felt hopeless a lot of my high school career. Um, those expectations always build and build and build, and then I get to the point of what's the point? What's the point?
Can you tell me about a
It's
time
so easy
where you felt like, what's the point?
rack it up. Um, I'm gonna be mask off, mask off. 100% honest. There was a point when I was a freshman where genuine thought just came to my mind of I am. It's unlogical for me to be on this planet because of how many resources I'm taking up. It's I'm burdened on my parents, I'm burdened on my family, burdened on my friends. What is the point of me being on this earth if I'm not given more than I take? Um, or yeah, doing more than I take. I am this black hole of just I'm a black hole. I'm taking everything in. I'm doing nothing. Doing nothing. And so I logicked myself into a hole of, well, I'm not doing anything for society. I'm not doing anything for anybody. What is the point of me being even on this earth?
David,
Dark places ensue. It was
where
dark.
where did you get that idea?
Um, Mostly it just came from myself, but also my mom was in a very dark place as well. She got diagnosed with breast cancer my freshman year, but before that she was having these insane mood swings, like back to the walls. It was insane. Because she was so sick that she didn't realize it, so she would just snap like that. And I had to take that, and I just was there, and I started believing what she was saying when she would go on these, like, because she couldn't help herself. She was, like, in pain constantly. She didn't realize what was happening, so she would just lash out. Um, And I internalized that, and I said, "Wow, this is, I mean, I'm the cause of my mom's problems." I yeah,
That
I
sounds
was the
really painful.
cause of the problems.
What were some of the things that she lashed out at,
For a long
or
time, it
some of
was
the things that you internalized?
um that I was I mean, my weight was a big thing, a big factor. You know, being seeing your child being this heavy, I can't imagine it on any. I don't have the capacity to imagine what if I had a child and he was killing himself day by day, because that's essentially what I was doing. I was killing my future. I was killing myself. Like there were, because we've like went to doctor. I would hear the same thing, like, oh, you're getting kind of big. You're getting really big, and I had no. It felt hopeless. You know, going back to that hopelessness, it felt hopeless because I was self sabotaging my whole life by just shoving down food, not taking the proper time to really educate myself in nutrition. And I did educate myself in nutrition. From freshman year on to now, I've always been go getting into fitness, into health. At one point I thought about being a physical therapist, so seriously. um like I've always been good with physical therapy, but to some point I'm seeing a deflect. It's been a rough. It was rough. It was really really rough. I internalized my mom's lashing out about me being really big, really heavy. That was the biggest thing. Probably is the fact that I was so big and so heavy. Another factor was I wasn't the best student because I didn't, I self sabotage myself day in day out. I wouldn't try in school because I thought of myself as oh, I'm smart. So if I can't do this with the minimal effort, then I don't know. I think it was my logic is if I can't do this with minimal effort, then I don't. I mean, what? How can I do this with a lot of effort? Some misconstrued kid logic that I was just like lying to myself a little bit. Think to try and to compensate for the fact that I felt like I wasn't smart enough, that I wasn't able to do it because I was oh, I can do this no problem. I can do this. I can do this easily. And when I couldn't do it, you know, easy,
Smart,
easy.
gifted kid. The curse of being a smart,
Yeah.
gifted kid, because it's supposed to be easy, right? You should be able to do this. How can you not do it? You're smart and gifted. Self-sabotage, because then if I never tried, then I can say and defend and say, I just never tried. Self-sabotage. Does that resonate with you?
100%. I realized that I didn't want to be that. Like, I didn't want to be that self-sabotaging smart kid. I realized in my sophomore or my junior year of high school, I was like, I don't want to be this. So I actually doubled down and I tried a little bit harder. The only reason why I got through high school, honestly, is helping out other kids. That was a big thing. Um, Loved helping out other people. Like that's how I learned in math. I would educate other kids, so I'd train myself to like do the processes in like the fastest time possible, in order to like help out people and raise them up. So I could say, oh well, if I couldn't do well, at least they did well, that sort of thing.
So David, I think we're doing. I love everything we're sharing. I think we're really learning about you, and I hope also like you're learning about yourself.
So personal.
Yeah. I want to help you, and I can think of a few different ways we could discuss this. So, one is I'll just list a few topics and directions we can go. We could talk about the self-sabotage some more, about your current efforts. Is there still self-sabotage going on? Is that still a concern to you? I don't know. That's something we can explore. We can talk about avoiding negative emotions to drive you forward, because like the fear of failure, the fear of disappointing people is a negative emotion that drives you forward. But it seems like it's not always, it's not working sometimes. And so we talk about how you could refuel on something different. We can go through practical guidelines on losing weight, what to expect to help blunt the negative feelings of failure. Because what does failure actually look like? We can help blunt what that feeling is by explaining like, oh, okay, this is actually normal during weight loss. Or anything else, like what direction do you want to go?
I will say something. I want to share something that I recently discovered about myself. Is that my best when I'm in the gym? My best workouts is when I visualize the weight as a friend, and they're like, bro, you can get this up, no problem. Let's get me up, bro. Let's get me up. And I I do this thing where after I finish my set, I bump my water bottle to the weights to like as a cheers type of thing. Like, nice job, man. And that visualization of like, okay, the weights want to help me. I'm the mechanical, and if the weight gets up, solid, bro. You got that. And so I started seeing the weights as my workout partner, almost in a sense, a symbiotic relationship. And I was influenced a lot by like social media. I don't like that mindset of like you gotta hate yourself to change. You gotta hate yourself. You gotta become a demon. You gotta become a beast. I'm not like that. I don't like becoming like it's not like that. It's not for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I feel you on that with the negative emotions fueling you. Obviously, it gets results. There's plenty of people out there who have used negative emotions to beat themselves up, to drive them to action and succeed. Not gonna lie, it can work. It can get results, but it's a self-damaging technique. And you play League of Legends, right? Speaking of toxicity, toxicity always been a part of the life, right? But are there any champs?
Shedman, baby, let's go.
Are there any champs that do any kind of like self-damaging type techniques?
Oh yeah, Vladimir Mundo. I will say, if we're going with a league, a reference, my favorite character is Shen, and I aspire to be a real life Shen. Shen is he's sort of a ninja from Ionia, and his whole thing is about balance. He's all about balance and protecting his allies. All his abilities, or his ultimate in game, is that he will shield an ally anywhere on the map, and he will instantly teleport to that guy. Well, not instantly, after like 3 seconds, but that's what it's like my whole quintessential thing. My favorite ability. Drop what you're doing, instantly help someone. The most selfless thing. As sort of, I love being that selfless player. But I need to focus on myself. If we're using like league to real life examples.
David, hold on. That's important. I want to touch on that for a second, because I see that you get a lot of pleasure and almost purpose in helping others. Or that's something that's, I think, kind of important. I'm gonna tie that in later, but yeah. So the quick analogy I was gonna give was just how, like, Vladimir, there's other gaming styles of, you self-damage to output more damage. It gets the job done at the cost of your own health, and it doesn't always have to be like that. It's so, but the what I want to understand is, what direction do you want to go? How can I help you in this conversation? So just recap. Like, do you want to talk more about the self-sabotage? Do you want to talk more about like the expectations? Anything else? Like, I kind of lost track of what I was going to say. How to fuel yourself with less negative emotions, more positive emotions.
I think I've talking them through has already helped me immensely. I don't think that I can really gain much. Well, I don't know if this is my logic brain talking. Like, you don't need to bother Tom with his Twitch chat and stuff like that. But I think I'm if we're gonna talk about self-sabotage, I think it's it's so funny to me to realize, like playing Shen. My main was Shen. I would always self-sabotage my own lane in order to help out another place, right? Like, I prided myself on, like, instantly, like, drop what I'm doing, even if I'm fighting, or whatever, I'd save someone, and then I okay, cool. I just saved someone instead of like doing my own thing. I think that's a parallel to my own life. Is that instead of focusing on my stuff and focusing on the things I had to do, I would help out another person just completely removed from me. Um, both as a coping mechanism, but also just like because I was just I love to help. There that's why I'm going to school to become a counselor. Is that I helping out someone doesn't take that much in terms of like to just to help someone go from like I'm the darkest pit to be like okay, this is a little bit better. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very hard to help to for yourself to change for you the person like me. It's I'm always logicking myself out of things. I'm always like hiding my hand, sort of. Oh, I'm bluffing almost. Bluffing how I'm doing well, bluffing how I'm doing all this. But yeah, I
David,
definitely do get a lot of satisfaction and a lot of endorphins from helping. Yeah.
David, are you
Oh
doing well
gosh.
right now?
I'd say yeah. I'd say I am doing very well for myself. Um, I'm a little bit stretched thin, but I do have the capacity to be this stretched. With I only have like three responsibilities that I really am like these are my responsibilities that I'm doing. Everything else sideline. My weight, my parents, and my school. That is the three things I'm focusing on. Everything else side hustle. Side. It's a side thing. If I have to like sacrifice, I'm only gonna sacrifice my time for these three things: my weight, my parents, and my school. Exactly why I missed your stream a little bit. I mean, yeah, you gave me the wrong time. What kind of streamer does that? Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Um, but also, I went to get a workout in my health and went to help my parents because my dad he can't really carry that many stuff anymore because he injured his shoulder a little bit. So I have to carry a bunch of stuff for him. Yeah, we own a liquor store, and liquor's heavy. Yeah, they come in these heavy boxes. So I'm over there. They call me up. They're saying, "Hey, can you come by the store and help us out for like 10 minutes?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, totally." So I go over there, carry some boxes. I get home, haven't even showered yet. Um, I'm still so smelly, but yeah, taking those into account, those are my responsibilities. And you got to do those things. I have to do these things because these are my responsibilities I have. And I've chosen those responsibilities. They're not placed on me. I've chosen them. These are mine and mine alone. Um, I want to put that out because I'm like I don't feel like I have to do it. I want to do these. Sorry, I'm putting so much emphasis on that.
So David, going with the Shen analogy about how it really resonates with you to drop what you're doing to go help somebody. I think an exercise that might help you is to imagine yourself as like a friend. You are the Shed, and what do you need to do to go drop what you're doing to go help out this friend who is basically you? And so to give an example, what does that friend need right now?
A hug. I just want a hug, man. I just need just soothing words. I think I get wrapped up in my emotions too much. I get riled up. I'm a very, very emotional person, and so getting riled up, getting coiled up, it's just waiting for me to burst. But if I can have that sort of, it's all right, it's okay, everything's gonna be fine. All the knots start getting out, and sort of it's unwinding, and so the coil that was so tight before is now unwinded, so it's more able to give and more able to adapt. Um, that's a really well. It came with on the fly. Coil being wrapped. But yeah, I think I just need just reassurance that everything's going to be all right, and you have time. There's You only have today, and Ben Rice. I've been watching his stream more. Shout out to you guys, by the way. I discovered you guys through T1's Power Stream. Tyler One has always also been like a big influence on me. I also gained a lot of toxicity from Tyler One, so I won't deny that. Sometimes it's a double edged sword to watch Tyler One, but I watched Ben Rice, and Ben Rice he said to me, he's like, you can only control how much you only get this one day. Like what day is it? The May 29th, right? You only get one May 29th, 2021. There's only one of these. So what are you gonna do? You only get one of these forever. This is the last day. It's gonna be May 29th, 2021. What are you gonna do? Well, what can you do? And I sort of coupled that with Dr. K's, what can you do? You can only control you now. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past. What can you do now? Um, and so I just do what I can do now. I think that's what big help, big help. I think that's what helped me a lot. Is like I finally realized that I can only have as much as I can do now. The only capacity that I can, or the only person that can like physically manipulate is me right now. And so, you just do what you gotta do. Even that sounds like such like um just hollow advice. It is what it is. Do what you gotta
Well,
do.
I like
Do
that
what you can
because
do.
it sounds relieving.
It's hard. It's sometimes hard to apply because you forget that.
Yeah, it sounds
Mhm.
relieving that you
Very relieving.
um are, kind of detaching yourself a little bit. It's a lot that is out of your control is just out of your control. And it kind of narrows the focus is what it feels like about what you can do.
Mm. That's how I was able to recognize my pattern of binge eating. Is I think about it like, okay, so if I'm gonna eat to feel better, like obviously it's not that good, but I eat more low calorie, high volume foods to just fill me up to just feel full. If I need to feel like I'm empty, I'm sort of wasting away. I think that's why I sort of ate just to feel full, to feel just to feel like I was full of something. Whether it be food or good emotions. Feeling empty, you shovel in food, it can be full. I started also mindful eating. Eating sort of thinking about, okay, so I've because I was I have a rough idea about calories, but sometimes you just forget and you just like just and little things can add up, right? Like you can have just like 2 tablespoons of oil, but you put 4 tablespoons of oil. Now it's just 100 calories more or 200 calories more, and you have these sorts of things. Oh, you put a little more of this. You put two because I've always been a big sauce guy, and I just douse my things in sauce. But sauce adds a lot of unnecessary calories, a lot of unnecessary and just volume to your diet that you don't need. And so, like things like that, sort of bad habits I picked up along the way. Also, the fact that no impulse control, just start shoveling anything you can fit in your mouth. Um, I started, doing less of that, more of like, okay, so what can you do? You want popcorn? Well, I have to do the act of making popcorn, and I switched over to kernels because then I had to, have to physically go on the stove and make popcorn. And in that time, I can be like, okay, am I really that hungry for popcorn? Do I really want this popcorn? And so once I have that, I can finally internalize that. And okay, so I eat the popcorn. Yeah, cool. I had a bowl of popcorn that was about 300 calories, high volume snack, almost zero, like zero fat, just all carbs, and I feel good. And I can slow down and take my own tempo and be like, are you really eating this because you're hungry? Are you thirsty? Drink some water. Just troubleshoot. Be like you. Be a scientist. What are you doing? Dial down this. Plug in that. Do more of this. Do more of that. Do less of this. Do less of that. Things like that.
It sounds like you're making great progress on your own, kind of just in this journey. Yeah. So, David, what
Dude, I feel super good.
I I want to emphasize that don't feel bad like bugging Tom. Oh man, I feel bad bugging Tom. Like I'm here for you, man. This is the last interview of the month that we're gonna be doing for mental health May. So you're like save the best for last. You have my time. So don't if there's any of those topics that I mentioned, that you want to talk about, or any other ways we can help you, like, dude, don't feel bad. Like, let's talk about it. I just want to see. I'm throwing out a few leads of where I think we could go, but I want to see what you're interested in. Be the shun and help yourself. What does the person you're helping need to talk about? Need to hear?
Uh, I will preface this by saying, even though I do put on a facade and I do sometimes put on a mask, I have made genuine progress these past few weeks. Um, I've felt so much better. And we've been talking about a lot of, like, down dark stuff, and I can delve more into that if I can, because that's my life. I have no shame in the fact. Well, I do have a little bit of shame because there's always that fact that you don't want to be perceived in this way. I don't want to be perceived as sad. I never wanted to be perceived as anything more than jolly Asian kid, because that's been my identity for so long. Um, but I have made genuine progress and genuine strides in who I am as a person this past few weeks, growing more and more. Trying to find myself, but it's been rough because of COVID hit. I've become I've reverted back to a high school self because I'm online. I'm doing these classes. I barely see anybody. I'm just doing the assignments that they tell me to do, and it's just not a good way to learn. It's not a good way to, like, spend your time day in and day out in this box of a room. And I attributed to the my feeling of being alone, my feeling of reverting back to my childhood memories, just feeling like I was trapped, just feeling like I'm in a box, um, of my own creation. But I, I felt that this past month I've made more progress than I probably have, in uh, a long time. I feel great. I feel incredible. One flex, I was doing arms the other day, and I saw my triceps pop out. One of my biggest insecurities is my arms. My arms are big old jelly junkers. And I saw my triceps popping out, and I was like, oh, huh, he's getting toned, boy. Nah.
That must have felt really good
Anyway,
to
it
see
just
that
got me so
accomplishment.
hyped. And gave me more motivation to go on. Oh, yeah. I'm not one for vanity, but progress is progress, and you gotta celebrate progress in any form it comes. And seeing me be able to, like, seeing my progress physically manifest on my body, it's a whole nother level of ecstasy. I couldn't do much in the way of celebrating because there was a bunch of people at the gym. I didn't want to look like a weirdo. But I was like, oh, sheesh.
Hey man, there's a lot
Woo!
of people checking
Do the
themselves
kind
out
of
at the
thing.
gym.
But also, I
What?
don't really care. I do anything at the gym.
Yeah. So, um,
But yeah, that's how it is. I,
so David, I'm getting the sense that you're in a good place, and this might be a good place to wrap up, unless you have any other questions or comments. Because, like, don't feel like I'm trying to wrap this up. Because I've asked a few times now if there's any direction you want to go. I'm getting the sense that that no, like, there's no particular direction you want to discuss about things. So, 'cause I just wanted to make sure this wasn't like a David is trying to be a good friend and not be a burden and not let people down. Because I genuinely don't mind if you want to keep talking. But I've asked a few times, and I'm getting the sense that there's nothing else to say. What do you think about that?
I I have the capacity to talk more. If you're asking me, do I feel like a burden right now on you or your stream? I do not feel like a burden. It's just that I've already dealt with my demons this past month, like, by myself. I've already internalized a lot. I could talk about, like, what I've discovered
Yeah.
through my like, self sabotage. And honestly, I'm not, like, not claiming that I'm like 100%. I'm not like saying, like, oh, I'm free of mental health, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a battle, a lifelong battle. Mental health isn't something that is just like physical health. Mental health is something that should be always, like, looked upon. I'm a big proponent of that. Because obviously I'm in school to become someone who helps people out through their mental health. I'm so sad that I didn't give Dr. K like the time of day earlier, because I always saw Dr. K, and I was like, a psychologist on Twitch. This guy is full of it, something like that. Like, oh, this guy is just trying to bank off something. But then I actually watched his streams, and I was like, wow, I am just a big poopy dum dum. Like, what are you doing? This guy is incredible. Like, he's doing great work, and he's doing great work. And I'm so like, I can't recommend him enough to anybody who's like looking for mental health. This guy knows what he's talking about. And David, like 2 years ago, dummy. He was a dummy. Uh, yeah.
So, I mean, do you want to pick maybe one or two things to share
Also very
about
tired.
what you've internalized the past few weeks? Anything that we haven't touched on?
Yeah. I We'll see. Let's see. Time management. I was never really that good at time management because of the whole yardy dar. I'm so smart. I'm so intelligent. Um, aspect of my life that I had such high expectations of myself when it came to my school and my academics. And this past semester, I put all my eggs in, like, okay, I'm all I'm doing is school. All I'm doing is, how hard can it be? School is school, right? It's not that hard. And my mom, for what it's worth, I love my mom, but we are on a whole different wavelength sometimes. Because she'll say something and I'll interpret it and I'll be like, okay, she's super pissed at me. Like, this woman is so mad at me, but she's just tired from a long day of work, and sometimes she can't say what she wants to say, in a tone that is nice to me, or I can interpret it as a good, because my brain can interpret a lot of things. I'm so used to getting yelled at by my mom. I think it's sort of like I'm always used to her just yelling at me, and so anytime it's like scolding, I just imagine it as scolding. And what a big thing that I've recently learned is understanding where our parents have come from. As an Asian American, we got some stuff to do. We have a way different family life than Western families, um, and so different things are normalized. And so my mom is always teaching me something. My dad's always teaching me something, and that's not something that, like, it's supposed to be okay. You're being taught a lesson. Just take it as it is. Don't try to argue. Don't try to because they're just trying to help you. That's all they're trying to do. My dad, he has no malice towards me when he's like, "Hey, dummy, do it, bro." Like, there's no malice there. It's just he's saying harsh words.
Yeah, it sounds like
Because he has high expectations for me. That's it.
yeah, it sounds like you come to a good place of understanding where you you understand where your parents are coming from better, and so just your understanding and relationship with them sounds like it's improving.
Yeah, I'm trying to be more patient because I did for a long time have really bad anger issues. I was very outbursty. Sometimes it had to do with League. I definitely was a little more toxic when it came to League. I played League for 5-6 years.
You
I
poor
have
thing.
been very toxic. So I will admit that.
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I
been
think
so.
you need therapy just for
Ooh,
that.
it hasn't been the best.
So sorry you went through that, man. That's awful. Like,
My
poor
friends
thing.
got me addicted, and then I just started playing for. Oh
Yeah.
man.
So
I will remember.
okay, so
Nah.
David, I feel like this is a good stopping point. Is there anything from this conversation that you have any takeaways from our conversation today as a way to kind of like wrap up?
um, don't be so quick to see expectations as gospel. I be okay with failure. I've already internalized that a bit because I'm being okay with failure, but realize that failure is a part of the whole journey of life. You can't omit failure. You're never going to be able to not fail at anything. Um, and so you helping me through that, also masking, and I already knew I masked a lot. I think that's a big part of, like, my my demons is that I can probably it's hard for me to share my emotions, right? Because I'm so used to being that guy who you tell your emotions to, and I think that's is so deep rooted that the fact that when I laugh or when I cry, I laugh. When I cry, I will like when I'm crying in front of a public space, I can't help but laugh, like Joker laugh. Like I'm Joaquin Phoenix, and
Mhm.
people have like looked at me like, dude, are you okay? I'll just be laughing because that's my only way to like, okay, well, I can't show my emotions here, so I'm just laughing like a crazy person, tears running down my face. Um, but yeah, that happens to me sometimes. But not that much anymore. But yeah, being willing to take being willing to fail at things and realizing that people won't judge you because you failed. People will be like, next time, bro, next time. And if you can't do it next time, so be it. There's a lot of things you can't do. Like I'll probably never be able to go to space, but does that make me a failure? No. Do I want to become an astronaut? Not really. So how'd you fail if you just can't do something? If you want to do it and you can't do it, it's all right. I want to be 6'5". I can't do that. Are you a failure? No.
I like
These are
that.
extreme examples, but like it's sort of like realizing that it's so outlandish. It's so outlandish that you're so scared of failing, even though sometimes you just can't do it. And that's just how it is. How it be.
Yeah, I like that you're detaching yourself and the failure
Yeah.
and what you can and can't do, because those are definitely like different axis, a different axis of movement, of succeeding or achieving something, and then the axis of who you are. And separating that, I think, really untangles a lot of the negative emotions that could be following us if we do fail or don't achieve something. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that, David. And before we wrap up, is there anything you want to plug? People can find you, social, favorite fitness streamer.
No. You ain't doing any of my life, no. But if I ever, I'll definitely because I do have a private Instagram that I've basically compiled a lot of my like progress pictures and stuff. Once I get to a comfortable point where I'm actually able to show off the gains, I'll definitely plug it in the Discord. But right now, I'm on the silent grind, as it were. Uh, I hated that. Like I do take a lot of things from outside stimuli. Now I'll just go on wildly, just like by myself. Like yeah, I'm on a solo grind. I be doing my own thing. I'll be in my own head. Like, nobody in my circle type thing. But yeah, I'm just being trying my best one day at a time to be better than yesterday. Pretty much is how I can sum it up. Working towards my goals, working towards my just being a better person, taking on more responsibility at church, things like that, um, stuff like that.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I think there's people will be
Yeah.
helped because you love helping people. I think people will be helped by this. And yeah, I'll see you in the stream. If you like the content, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Also, follow us on Twitch and leave the notifications on. Feed your brain, feed your body, and see you next time.